I'll always be with you.
pack are starting to get mobile. No direction yet, they're still just greeting.
Hello everyone and welcome to this beautiful Friday afternoon. It is a magical atmosphere as the sun is starting to get lower and we get into the golden hour and watch these beautiful giraffe as they are feeding on these red bush willows. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to my first virtual safari to host you guys on YouTube. And we are here on Pridelands, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park. So we have a very, very interesting area here to work with as we work in the low veld and the African savanna. There's plenty of animals to see here. And the giraffe is such an iconic animal, the largest animal on planet Earth, or the largest mammal, excuse me, on planet Earth. And what an interesting animal as well to observe as they feed. And I think it's particularly interesting that they have such distinctive characteristics of their appearance. I mean, their body structure and everything about them is so unique that you don't really find it anywhere else. But let me try maybe and get a little bit closer so we can get a better look on this on that giraffe. But in general, welcome everyone, guys. I'm so pleased to have you all here. Let me check who's joined us today. So, hello, Catherine, Brandy, Lara Moore, 68 people. Wow. Thank you guys so much for joining in. Rosalind, Cookie. Hello, everyone. So for those not knowing yet, I've seen some comments asking about Brent. So I'm a Nico training student that I'm doing my placement currently with Painted Dog TV. So I'll be here for a longer time and also trying to do virtual safaris with you guys. So hopefully you'll get to know me soon enough. So we have seen this morning African wild dogs, and it has been an absolute amazing sighting. We've seen 3 wild dogs with hyenas interacting on a kill that we think the wild dogs did, and then the hyenas tried to sneak up on them. So we know that the wild dogs are currently around, and because wild dogs cover such vast distances in short amount of time, we know that by tomorrow or the day after tomorrow they will probably be gone. So we still have some probabilities to see them today. So I think it would be very cool if we see them, but obviously there's so much else to see. And I think I see some impalas in front of there, and as I said, the giraffe. So let's maybe head to them and see what we can find. And also leopard them. I've heard some messages of elephants being around, so we'll see what we can find. How are you guys? How have you been? It is Friday afternoon here in South African time, and I hope you had a very successful week so far and are stoked to start the weekend with me here. Oh, sorry. Hello Jörg, hello my friends, greetings back to Zurich, to my home place. So as you may know, I have been here for some time, but obviously still new, and I'm very pleased that some friends and family are also watching today. So let's see. Look at this beautiful view. We have impalas, warthogs, and giraffes right here in front of us. Do you get a clear shot here, Brian? Of the giraffe? Ah, let me go for it. Oh, sorry guys. Brian, as always, on the camera. The man in command. So we see, I think, 2 giraffes and then plenty of impala. This is called the impala plains because the impala love to be here because obviously it's an open area, so they have a higher visibility in terms of spotting potential predators that try to lurk up on them. And then this is a mutualistic relationship, what we call, amongst different species. So we have giraffe, warthogs, and also impala, and they all benefit from each other in terms of having more eyes and ears to look out for potential predators. So that's why we often see a congregation of different species in harmony. And look at that beautiful giraffe just feeding on that tree. I mean, that just looks lovely. Yeah, absolutely. So the giraffe, I can see they're feeding, I think that is a marula tree. Yeah, so as you may know, it is now getting winter time here in South Africa, so trees start to slowly but surely lose their leaves, but still some trees will have foliage throughout the year, and this big marula tree still looks very green and very healthy, and obviously the giraffe is profiting from that. And the birds you may have just seen flying off that giraffe are red-billed oxpeckers, and these are also birds that have a relationship with the giraffe that both benefit from each other. So the red-billed oxpeckers are what we call sanguinivores because they feed on blood. So they feed off the ticks that are filled with blood from the giraffe, and the giraffe benefits because obviously the problematic insects get removed, and red-billed oxpeckers in return obviously get their nutrition and food from feeding on those animals. So they both benefit from each other. I've had a question of what the most common trees are that giraffes feed on. It's a difficult question to answer because depending on the area you are, there will be different tree species that are dominant and that giraffes will favor. So depending on the area, that might be a different species, but from my experience, they really enjoy especially the acacia trees. So they really like, for instance, the knobthorn, but also in East Africa where I've been, they have loved the Kirk's acacia and different acacias. So the interesting thing is also that acacias have very, very elongated and long thorns that protect the plant species from grazers, not grazers, but browsers, so herbivores such as giraffes and elephants and so forth. And these animals, the giraffes, have such thick skin on their tongue that they don't really mind those thorns. So these thorns are often longer than, let's say, maybe 5-6 centimeters, and they're super sharp. And it's incredible when you see these animals just eat a whole branch filled with those thorns, and you just think to yourself that, you know, that hurts so badly if you try to eat that. But these animals have been adapted specifically to feed on those trees because those trees, especially the acacias, have very high nutritional value. And because the giraffe is quite a big animal, they feed, they're not particularly bulk grazers. So bulk grazers or feeders are animals that feed on a lot of, in terms of amount, on a lot of trees or plants, such as elephants, for instance. But giraffes are more selective browsers, so they select more nutritionally high and rich plants. So that is a treat of the giraffe, and that is why even so with those thorns, they have been adapted to feed on these trees because they have such high nutritional value. Never seen warthogs feeding together with giraffes. Well, I guess that's the first time for you then, and there's always a first time. And in Pridelands, yeah, we get on this particular spot, we often get animals joining up together and mutually, profiting from their presence as they look out for potential dangers and warn themselves if anything comes up. And as I said, they love the open area because they have a higher visibility rather than in the thick bush. A question: if the giraffe's ever been seen off feeding on that tree bark? Actually, to be honest, I'm not sure about that. I have personally never seen that, but I'm not sure if they have ever fed on dead tree bark. To my understanding, they don't really feed on bark. They feed primarily on leaves and foliage. And then what they sometimes will do is chew on bones. Yes, very interestingly, they will chew on bones often to obtain further calcium. So often you will, not often, but sometimes you will see a giraffe that has a bone in between its mouth. Doesn't mean that it has made a kill and it's eating an animal, or it has just eaten an animal. It's just more likely that it has found the bone on the ground and it has picked it up and it's chewing on him to receive further calcium and to have further nutrients for its bones. So this is a very interesting and particular trait and behavior of the giraffe, and I think it's quite unique in a way that the giraffe feed on bones for that particular reason. But there's actually many animals that have special treats in terms of receiving extra calcium. So for instance, hyenas have a very, very strong jaw, and they crush bones when they eat the meat, and they eat the bones whole. So their dung is filled with calcium. And for instance, turtles will feed on hyena dung, but not just turtles, but also other animals to receive further calcium. So the turtles in particular receive the calcium to strengthen their shell. So it's, for me, quite interesting to see how everything is connected and how every species provides certain nutrients or provides certain things that are required by the next one. And as that cycle goes on, the chain kind of, or the nutrients get cycled upon all those different species. And to me, that's just fascinating how nature works and how everything is so sophisticated in that sense. Okay, guys, what do you say we carry on and see what else we can find? I think this is a very lovely day, and it's an absolute amazing start to start with those two beautiful giraffes, the impalas and the warthogs. So let me get this car started, and then I think we can go on a ride and see what else we can find. I have never seen leopard tortoise feeding on bones before. I have even not really seen them feeding on hyena dung, but I have seen quite some leopard tortoise. But usually, when you see them, they get not scared, but when they see that you're present, they try and stand still and everything. So then often we also don't want to bother them too much and carry on. But I've never seen them feeding on bones, to be honest. Exactly. Ulrike is calling it is called osteophagia. That is correct term for animals feeding on dung. And for instance, elephants also are known to do this behavior. So when mom, elephant cow, gives birth to its young, often the young baby will feed on the dung of the mother because it has not yet the development of the teeth and all the structure to feed on heavy leaves and branches, etc. So often that also happens with elephants. So they will feed on the dung of the mother, which is correctly, as you said, is called osteophagia. Okay, oh, sorry. Hold on tight, guys. I'm, to be honest, quite enjoying this car now because the exhaust pipe, to a certain degree, wasn't working, but it was damaged somehow, and the car was so loud and people were complaining, and now it's so smooth and so silent that I'm so happy that, you know, I can actually hear animals, and also we don't bother them too much. So this car has been fixed just recently, and it feels awkward. When I turned the engine on before, it was just this loud sound, and now it's just so softly that I'm like, this is a completely different car. So it's very, very cool that it's a bit more friendly now to do game viewing. Rosalind asking how far the hyena den is. So, as you may know, there's now a second hyena den. So, there's actually 2 locations, and the one where we still have the live cams on, they are still, they've been active quite often actually in the recent 2 or 3 days. I've seen them almost every day in the last few days. So, they are still active there, but they have moved to another den as well. So I think they're moving in between those 2 dens, and the den is not, or especially both are actually somewhat close to each other. They are not too far off, but the new den, we haven't yet checked the signal. So I don't feel yet comfortable going there knowing that the connection might go down. So we still have to test that so we know we can safely go there. But the hyena den has been active, the old actually, where we thought they have moved off completely. They are still there and they're still active, and I'm actually super happy to see that, and also how the cubs have been grown, because for like maybe 2 weeks or so, or even 3 weeks, I haven't seen them much, or we haven't seen them much on the live cams, and now I've seen them more frequently again, and I feel I can see already how they're getting more independent, how they grow and everything. So it's also, to me, very exciting to get more hyena sightings and follow up on these guys. Thank you, my friend Antonio. Happy to hear you, to see you joining me on this very, very exciting adventure. And as you guys may know, I'm still very new to this setup, or to hosting live drives, and this is my first live drive to host as a single person. So I'm very excited to do that. I'm very happy that each one of you could make it to join me here. So I'm very keen to show you the beauty of the African wilderness, which has, to me, or which has influenced my life in terms of leaving my hometown. You know, I've left Europe, Switzerland, one of the safest and most high quality in terms of life quality places on the planet Earth, because I just crave that nature. And now that I'm here, I feel so justified that, you know, I made the right decision. So I want to take you on to an adventure and show you why, you know, I'm here and I've decided to leave home, because this is really a magical place, the African wilderness. Oh. Hello, little friend. Oh. Are those branches in your way? Or can you get him? You lost him. Let me change the angle. So there's a red-billed hornbill here. Whoop. And as you may know, the hornbill had a very prominent role in the film of Lion King. I'm actually not sure, because it's been years I've seen Lion King, which particular species it was. I think it was the African grey hornbill. So this is the southern red-billed hornbill, and this particular bird is very, very common here, but I still like to stop for these guys, because I think they're quite beautiful birds, and they have this elongated red bill, which is quite beautiful. And the way how to separate male and females is that the females usually have kind of pinkish or even redder final tip of the beak. So we tend to say that they have lipstick on, but to be honest, it is still quite difficult to differentiate them. So this, I think, yeah, I've also just heard them. Okay, guys, so I've just heard Impala's alarm calling to our right-hand side. And so I think we should get going, because when we hear alarm calls, we always get excited, because this is how we can spot potentially predators, because they give away the predators. So those were just impala alarm calling, and we'll have to see if we can locate them again. Now, as I said, we've had wild dogs this morning, and there was reportedly a kill that could have been linked to the wild dogs at Leopard Dam. So it could be that it is them. Let's just see. Okay, so these impalas look very relaxed. It also sounded further away. Do you think it was back at Impala Plains? Yeah, you think, huh? Okay. I think, guys, we might just turn around and try our luck at Impala Plains, because it did sound like they were coming from kind of where we actually came from, further back. So let's try our luck there, because as I said, alarm calls should never be ignored when out in the bush in terms of seeing and spotting predators. Okay, let's see. Okay guys, I'm just gonna try and drive there a bit more quickly, so if there is anything there, we can manage to spot it and we don't lose the chance. But obviously it is still uncertain what exactly sets the impalas off. Could be hyena, could be lion. We have a single lioness around that is called Lagatha. Could be a leopard, could be the wild dogs. So many things that could be the reason for them alarming at us, or not at us, at something, sorry. Yeah, the grasses are getting more and more yellow. For me, it's very exciting time, because I've never been in Africa during the winter and dry season. So as everything starts to become dry and yellowish, and especially these autumn colors I have fallen really in love with during the last few months. Now the leaves start to disappear more and more, but for the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks we had like these yellowish and orange colors, which to me are just so beautiful. And so it's very exciting that now the landscape is changing completely to when I arrived in the rainy season in December. It was so lush and so green that it was so hard to spot animals as well. So it helps us in terms of giving us as game viewers more visibility to spot animals. Hello Bertie, welcome to this virtual safari. Nice to have you here on board. I've had also a report here stating that there was reportedly hyenas having what looked like a giraffe leg or bone at HQ camp. So this might also be something to look into later on. I'm actually not quite sure if the signal is good at HQ. Do you know, Brian, if the signal there is good? Okay. 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 Okay, so the calls seem to come from this direction earlier on. So we're gonna keep our eyes super sharp to see if we can locate anything of special interest. So you can tell these impalas here are now quite relaxed. They're not having their heads up looking at anything. So I'm thinking if it came further from the block to the western side, but I don't think it was them. I think the elephant cam would be too far away. It didn't sound that far, so maybe it was just in that block over there. What do you think, Brian? You heard it best. You think also? Okay. Well, let's see if we can encounter anything. I know that there's one road that has been blocked by an elephant pushing over a knobthorn, and usually I don't mind moving trees off roads that have been knocked over or anything, but you must know that the knobthorn, for those that have never experienced a knobthorn, has hooked thorns that are just horrible. They're just horrible. Like, if you ever try to move knobthorn or anything, you'll always get scratches and just wounded. It's really nasty to work with. So I think this road is still blocked, but we can still make a loop around and check the area out. So it shouldn't be that big of an issue. People are asking about the hyenas that I've referred to. I referred to them because I've read a comment stating that there was a sighting. Oh, the tree has been cleared. Thank goodness. So I've not checked the live cams. It's just that I've seen the comment. That is why I was referring to them and asking if you guys seen them there. But I personally haven't seen them there just yet. Okay. Let's see. Okay, it's hard to tell where exactly the call was coming from specifically, as it was quite far away, but it's definitely somewhere around this region. But you know, it could be that the predator or whatever it was has disappeared already. But so what we often do when trying to locate alarm calls or any call that might give away an animal of interest is to, because the engine is quite loud, to just stop and then listen if we can hear anything. But I haven't heard anything ever since I shut down the engine. Yeah. Well, I think we can still make our way, and who knows, we might get lucky still. Hold on tight, guys. This is a dodgy road. Thank you guys for all the feedback. I'm really appreciating it, and the general feedback and welcoming attitude from the Painted Dog TV audience and members and fans. So really, thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and I'm really trying my best to get you something of interest. Okay, we see those two female impalas. They're also looking quite relaxed, so I also doubt it has been them alarm calling. She's looking. But yeah, impalas, they're very common, but as I've said many times before, I think they're very underrated animals because they are, as a matter of fact, vital to the overall ecosystem. So they are the main prey species for so many predators. So for wild dogs, that's the case. For lions, that's the case. So also depending on the area. So for instance, if you look at East Africa, potentially in different areas there's not an impala, but maybe the kerksdiktik that is the main target of the predators. But still, impalas provide such a huge amount of food and resources to all those predators, right? And obviously the impalas are attracted by the highly nutritional trees and plants that we get here. So everything, as I said earlier, that is what amazes me, that everything is connected, and the nutrients go from the plants to the impala, and then from the impala to the predators, and so on and so forth. So impalas, they're very cool. I do appreciate them quite a lot, and I think often they just get, or people get bored because they're so abundant, you know. But their abundance is of vital importance to the overall ecosystem. Oh, there's a beautiful, beautiful male. So with impalas, it's very, very obvious to separate males and females. The males will have horns, whereas females don't have horns unless there's a genetic dysfunction that, you know, causes a female to have a horn, which we have one particular individual here on Prideland. So I'm not going to say they never have horns, but it's very, very rare. And the theory goes, so some antelopes have, the males will have horns and the females won't have horns. And in some species, both female and males will have horns. And the theory kind of goes that that the antelopes that live on plains where there is a very good visibility, only the males will have horns, because the horns are needed to display dominance over other males, to acquire mating rights over the females. So it's also for them to look strong and healthy to the females. So it's more of a mating purpose. Whereas they tend to say that in more bushier areas where visibility is not as abundant, also females will have horns, because they are also used as protection, because they don't have that visibility. So the horns will serve them as a last resort to protect themselves against predators, whereas with these guys they rely more on their speed and agility to get away from predators. But as I said, this is more of a general rule than a strict rule, because as you see, the impalas now here are also in the more kind of a thick area, and it's not that they are always in plains. So I've personally observed that more, that they tend to be on plains in East Africa. But as I said, here it's a bit more bushy, so they also tend to come here. So it's always in the bush. I've learned from one of my greatest mentors that he said, never say never or always in terms of wildlife or anything with guest related, because the day you say that, you're doomed, and you will find, like I said, an impala that has horns. On that day you'll say they never have horns, you know. So you never shall say never or always. There's something moving in here, but I think it's just Christopher Franklin, huh, Brian? Yeah. Question if I've ever seen impalas with abnormal horns. Yes, I have seen that particular female that we get here that has a very weird shaped horns. So I've seen her, but apart from that, I think actually no. I think all the ones I've seen have had quite healthy horns, but I'm sure there's abnormalities and genetical malfunctions, or that can cause horns to not grow at all, or grow in a deformed way. Yeah, impala fast food for lions. Absolutely, I agree. Also fast food for wild dogs. So the kill we've seen this morning was an impala. And as I said, I think the hyenas were trying to steal it from them. And it was, to be honest, such a spectacular sighting, because there was one hyena and 3 wild dogs first. And the wild dogs were super confident and chasing the hyena off. And the hyena was, not really strong enough to take over any of the meat. And then, like 5 minutes later, a second hyena came, and then break up here, but I think I'm back now with you guys. So yeah, I'm telling you, these wild dogs were absolutely chasing away that hyena that was kind of trying to sneak onto them. And as I said, I was also very impressed that those 3 wild dogs, and sometimes it wasn't the 3 of them, chasing the hyena away. It was just like one going to it and like making some noises to get it away. But as I said, as the second one came, the tables kind of switched. But it wasn't a violent, like they weren't really fighting over the kill, because there was only a few remains left. So I think it was like, okay, you guys had lots of food, now we hyenas also get some. And the wild dogs were like, okay, off you go, And then they carried on sort of together in the same direction. It was super fun to just see them walking, together side by side. But yeah, I think it's interesting how sometimes competitors, so wild dogs and hyenas are obviously competitors because they compete for the same resources, which is prey species like impala. So they will often chase each other from the kills and steal kills from each other. And wild dogs in particular are very vulnerable to other predators, and I think they have an 80% of death rate of the pups. So actually very few pups will survive, and one of the biggest reasons is competition from other predators. But the main culprit of this story is not the hyena, it's the lion. Lions usually the one species most responsible for the most hyena pup kills, lions. The one species responsible for the most lion cubs kill, also lion. They are I think the most dominant predator here, and obviously they have this big competition, hyenas and lions, but definitely lions are usually the ones most responsible for kills of young ones of different species. So it's tough life here, but it's what it is. It's nature, it's wildlife, and it's a part of it. They require that competition to actually coexist. Yeah, I've seen lions and hyena conflicts lots. I've seen once an elephant that has died of natural causes, and then lions were feeding on it, and then hyenas came in and were trying to chase them off, but there were 2 big males, so they were putting up a serious fight, and one adult male, I think, can handle easy or keep easy 4 to 5 hyenas at bay. Once they get more in numbers, then the hyenas can be cheeky and can also chase off lions. And they've also chased and reported to chase of leopards and all sorts of things. So hyenas are definitely not to underestimate. Okay guys, I've just had a report that there are some elephants at Leopard Dam, so I might just change my plan and turn around and see if I can get to that sighting. Yeah. Can you just show that, Brian, quickly? So this is what I was talking about earlier with the giraffes, and these are not even that long, but you can see with my finger it's like this one is already maybe 4 or 5 centimeters long, and giraffes or elephants, they will just rip that off and eat that. It's crazy. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see if we can find some elephants. What do you guys say? Are you excited to see elephants? Are you keen to see elephants? I hope so, because I am very keen, to be honest. And especially at Leopard Dam, apparently there's a report of close to 30 individuals, so I'm sure this would be a very, very interesting sighting. So let's try and get there and potentially see them. Now Brian knows that the last time I've ruined my luck to see elephants, because I said this place is filled with elephants and we shall find elephants. So today I'm just going to say that hopefully we'll find them, but it is actually quite a thing that we tend to say, that when you say, oh, we have so many animals of that and that species, oh, and we've had amazing sightings of leopards during the last few days, so I'm sure we're going to see them. That's the time you're not going to see them. So you must never try your luck. Yeah, Ezulwini, as you say, Julie, is amazing. It's the biggest elephant I've ever seen, and he truly is a super tusker. So a super tusker is an elephant where I think one single tusk weighs over 25 kgs, if I'm not mistaken. So there are approximately 25 to maybe 30 individuals left that are branded kind of as super tuskers or big tuskers, and the reason why there's not as many left is because it is a genetic treat to have such long big tusks, and with poaching and hunting, it has happened that obviously they target the tusks. They have often targeted those big tuskers as well. And for that very reason, the gene pool of super tuskers is getting less and less common, because obviously the genes are not reoccurring and flowing as they used to be. So there's far less super tuskers than there used to be maybe 50 or 100 years ago. Oh, 100 pounds, Atul. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. I thought 25 kgs was too less. I mean, these tusks, they are so heavy. It's incredible. And when you see such an elephant so close to you, let me tell you, it is one of the most amazing experiences that you can possibly imagine. Hold on tight here. Whoop. Oh, sorry. You still okay, Brian? Sorry, man. You're having your leg workout. You must imagine Brian is squatting there behind, trying to stabilize the camera. It's, as he says, a very good leg workout for him. Africa's guy is asking what language I'm most comfortable speaking. So most comfortable speaking I am with Swiss German, or German in general, because I was born and raised in Zurich in Switzerland. So this is my strongest language, German, or Swiss German in particular. It's a finesse. I wouldn't consider Swiss German a different or own language, but it is definitely a very strong dialect. So Swiss German, and then probably I would have to say English as the second language, and then Portuguese, because I am Portuguese and I was raised Portuguese with my parents. And then lastly, I also speak French, which I've learned in the army. So I feel comfortable speaking all of those, but Swiss German I feel most comfortable speaking, to be honest. And I actually miss it in a way, because I haven't been speaking Swiss German in recent times, because obviously there's no one here to talk to in Swiss German. So I'm kind of missing my home language in that sense. Oh, sorry. Okay guys, we just made a little loop in that area, but we should get to Leopard Dam now just shortly. Okay, let's see. Oh no, I'm sorry, I can't speak Afrikaans just yet. It's actually quite similar to German in terms of how everything is written, but how the pronunciation works, it's very, very different, and it's a challenge. I must say, it's a challenge for me, but I think it wouldn't be too difficult to learn it. But yeah, a challenge for another day, I would say. Let me see. I don't see any elephants just yet. Maybe they're on the other side. Let me check if there's been any reports where they were heading next. Oh, there's a beautiful, I think, gray heron. Yep. Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful bird. So herons feed mostly on small amphibians and fish. So like they like to eat frogs and smaller fish. And so they have this very pointy beak where they strike with very high velocity into the water and then grab their prey and then swallow it basically whole. But interestingly, as I said, that's their preference, but there's variation. So once I've seen a black-headed heron which is quite similar to this species, more so occurring in East Africa. Oh, you see him hunting, huh? Eating a rat. That was so crazy. This rat was massive and it just grabbed it, and I think my friend Antonio was the one taking some images of that. That was so, I don't know, amazing and also odd to see, because obviously it swallowed the animal alive and in whole. So that was quite an interesting one. So I'm wondering where the elephants may went, but I will just check with my colleagues if they have any further updates, so we can potentially still see them. But that reflection looks so amazing though. That would be an epic photograph. Okay. Okay. Okay, here we go. Still a bit forward. Or are you okay? Let me see. Okay, let me just get you the right sighting here. Oh, sorry. Is that good? Okay. Beautiful reflection. You can see he or she, I don't actually know. He's trying to hunt here, looking for some food. Very delicate movements, very slowly, intently. So you may see that black streak going from the eye kind of back to the head, and a black-headed heron would have that kind of coloration on top of the head, and that is why it's called black-headed heron. So this is a way to separate them. And also, black-headed heron usually will have a black beak, whereas this guy has a yellow beak. So black-headed heron, we know it's not so occurring or not so often common here, but as a general rule, you shouldn't take that for granted and just say it is a grey heron. It's always good to confirm what species you're really looking at. Yeah, herons are amazing, yeah. Yeah, no, herons do feed on rodents as well, but I think it's not as common because they tend to be often around water holes and just marshy areas. So they, from my experience, prefer little fish and frogs. But again, it also depends on the area and the particular species that has maybe slightly different variations and favors different species and animals to feed upon. Okay, well, let's try and continue and see if we can spot anything else. But this has been very, very cool heron. I wish we could see him actually catch something, but that reflection, very cool, very cool. As a photographer, that's the shot you want, for sure. Okay. So I've seen some of you guys are saying that you really like watching herons. Let me know, what is your favorite bird species or maybe broader bird family that you enjoy watching, or what is your favorite birds that you like to look out for? As you may know, for me, I would probably have to say owls. So I did a little episode on that, and if you watch Animal World Live, you may have seen it, and I think we've also just released it on YouTube, so you can also check that out. That one out. It's basically me going out and seeking to encounter owls and find them and photograph and film them, and it's a little story about that. But it has been a very pleasant adventure for me that I've pursued in the past week. So now I'm on different projects, but I think for me, it's always important, or not important, but useful when you set yourself a goal for maybe 2 or 3 weeks to see that specific animal or that specific species, and then often I think that goal or that determination helps you to actually create those sightings as you prepare to look for those animals. But yeah, guys, let me know what's your favorite bird. Let me see. African harrier hawk. Very cool choice, very cool choice. I haven't seen them as often. I've seen maybe 2 or 3, but just from a far distance. I hope to one day see one in close proximity. What's my favorite owl species on Pridelands? I think I would have to go with the southern white-faced owl. It's a beautiful owl that has, as the name says, a whitish face, but then it has this orange kind of reddish eyes that are so prominent and so, I don't know, amazing, that it's just captivating to me when looking at just the images. I have not yet seen one in wild or just in general, so I'm still hoping to see that. But just from the books and from the images seen online, I think I would have to go with that one. Beautiful sunset here to our right-hand side. Bateleur, very cool choice. Rosemary, very cool choice. So the Bateleur scientific name is called Teratopius ecaudatus. So Teratopius refers to beautifully faced, and as you may know, the Bateleur has a red face, so that's what they're referring to, a beautiful face. And then ecaudatus refers to the one with a short tail or the one with no tail. So it's basically saying beautifully faced bird without a tail. So I as you will get to know me, you will understand that I quite fancy scientific names, especially if they have an interesting story and interesting features to talk about the bird. So you'll see me and hear me more and more pointing out some birds and refer to the scientific names of what exactly they mean. Very beautiful sunset, I must say. This is just spectacular. I mean, to start your weekend like that is just such a privilege, I must say. Oh wow, Brent apparently showed a southern white-faced owl on a drive once. That is amazing. I mean, that sighting, hopefully I'll get it at some point. But the southern white-faced, oh, there's a giraffe. It's a very, very interesting owl for sure. Hello Giraffe, how are you? Let me see if I can get a good angle. Tell me, or maybe I'll pull forward just a little bit. After that, marula tree. Okay. Yeah, so we have here another giraffe, and I see also an oxpecker on its head, or on its neck, better said. And so what you see on top of the giraffe's head, which you might think are horns, are called ossicons. And those ossicons are basically an extension of the skull, so they are bones, they're part of the skull, and they're very, very hard. And the males in particular, when they join in fighting to obtain sexual rights over the females, which is called necking. So they will basically fling their necks against each other's body, and then often those ossicones become slightly more disturbed and less hairy and bushy, and that is to a certain degree a way how you can potentially also identify a male over a female. And this one is feeding. Let me see which tree it's feeding on. I'm actually not quite sure. Yeah, beautiful animal. So this tree doesn't have any thorns that may hurt it, but because, as I said, they need high nutritional value in leaves, because obviously they're also quite large animals. They are feeding like constantly. Like giraffes, you will so often just see feeding, and they do also sleep and rest, but it is actually, compared to humans, it's very, very a little amount of time where they sleep. Anywhere from maybe 30 minutes to 1 or 2 hours a day, that is like pretty much all the rest these guys will get, because, as I said, to sustain their body and everything that they need, they have to be constantly feeding. Hello, Piskis Bobby. Greetings back. Happy to have you here, and you could join at least for the last bit of this virtual safari. I understand that for people working up to late afternoon, it's, I'm sure, tricky to attend, but I'm very happy that you and so many others could be here today. You hear those birds? Those are the red-billed oxpeckers. So when walking in the bush, when you do walking safaris, etc., those guys are your best friends, because, as I said, the oxpeckers tend to feed on the ticks of larger mammals. So it could be a giraffe, but it could also be a buffalo or a rhino or an elephant. And for that specific reason, they give away those animals that are potentially dangerous to you on foot. So when we did our trails guide, those are the birds that our instructors were very keen for us to learn about, or very strongly to get that song into our brains, because they can save your life in certain circumstances. Yeah, it is a very cool bird. I think it's so an owl. Oh, really? I hear there's an owl in the shot. Oh my god. Let me check. Oh yeah, I think I can see it. Oh wow. Looks like a pearl-spotted owlet. 100% pearl-spotted owlet. Do you see those black markings on the back of the head? Pearl-like markings. That's why it's called the pearl-spotted owlet. Wow, amazing, man. Yo, I love those birds. And to see them also during daytime is also a bit more challenging, because they tend to start calling more during the night, which obviously when they're calling, it's a bit easier to find them, because you can locate them far easier. But very well spotted, Brian, man. Thanks so much. I've just been talking about owls all the time, and now the first one to spot during your live drive. So the pearl-spotted owlet is the second smallest owl occurring in this area. The smallest is the Scops owl, which is around 14 to 18, ranges from 14 to 18 centimeters, whereas the pearl-spotted owlet is slightly bigger, like somewhere around 18 to 22, but still very, very smallish bird. Pearl-spotted owlets are quite common in pridelands. They are by far the one species that we tend to see the most. So I've so far seen three different owl species here, and of those three, I think the pearl spotted owlet I've seen, yeah, definitely the most. So and also the pearl spotted owlet's scientific name is Glaucidium perlatum, and Glaucidium basically means little owl, and perlatum, as you can relate to, refers to the pearl-like markings. So it's basically calling it a small owl with pearl-like markings. So sweet. People giving credits to the cameraman. I'm also saying very, very well done. Very well done for getting that shot. They were saying that they didn't get why you weren't that center on the giraffe. So very cool, man. Very cool. Is it still there? Huh? Ah, very nice. Yeah, they also have a very, very distinctive call where they will get higher up in pitch, and then they'll have this drop call where they go. And often, if you play that call when different smaller bird species are around, like waxbills and other smaller birds, they go nuts. They go absolutely crazy because obviously the pearl-spotted owlet is a predator to those birds. And people that have been playing this call because they've been listening to it or whatever, apparently smaller birds just go nuts when they hear that call. But it's actually quite common to hear it. And once you hear it, it's very easy to remember the call. Yeah, amazing shot. Let's maybe see what else we can find. But that was a very, very interesting encounter. So one more owl sighting that I can tick off. Wasn't the sort of white-faced owl, but hey, you gotta appreciate what you find, huh? So another owl I'm very, very keen to see is the spotted eagle owl. And we've had a sighting, not me, but someone else that has dropped a sighting in our group saying that they saw one. And I was quite jealous, to be honest, because the spotted eagle owl is one of the bigger owls. And I think after the Burroughs eagle owl, it's the biggest we get in Pridelands. So I'm very keen to see that owl as well. Let's maybe get that sunset just first. Did you get it here? Oh, amazing. Hoppla. Sorry. Just about in time for that beautiful, beautiful sunset and beautiful streaky clouds above it. Yeah, definitely a cooperative giraffe. Giraffes usually they are sensitive to, especially when you're on foot, they're quite sensitive to when you just stop closely to them. Often when you just keep walking, they will not see you potentially as a threat because you're still walking and not paying special attention to them. So often, if a giraffe is even not further than maybe 5 meters away from you, if you walk on a steady pace just past them and without stopping, without hesitating, they often will just stand by and look at you and don't be scared off or anything. But obviously, as I said, it depends on which giraffe and stuff. But for me personally, I've had this experience, and it's the most amazing thing I can tell you. This giraffe could be just right here and you're walking past it and it doesn't really mind it because you're maintaining your walk. But as soon as you stop, because obviously predators, that's what they do, they stop and stalk, that is when they feel threatened, and then they will move off. I think I've just spotted something in here in the eye of my corner, and I'll just give Brian a better angle. And oh no, the animals in question were zebras. The plain zebra. Also very, very iconic animal that occurs here. And I've just seen it in the corner of my eye. And I think the other one is there, but it's, I think, tricky for you to get. Brian, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, absolutely. Giraffes looks like a painting. I totally agree. And it's just so, I think, peculiar to see that these animals have those stripes and how it helps them in different reasons. So there's obviously different theories about that. And the two that I like the most is that it helps them with insect or problematic insect control. So the different patches of white and black will have a different temperature, because as we know, black, the coloration of black and white correspond different to heat and sun rays. So they have had experiments and studies where they've painted cows in that particular pattern, so in black and white stripes, and they could see that they have been far less bothered by insects. So this is, to a certain degree, an approved theory as to how it can help them. But other than that, I think what it also helps them to do is to irritate predators, because most predators have night vision and they see in black and white. And you must just imagine when a group of zebras, let's say maybe 5 or 6 zebras, are chased by lions or maybe hyenas. As the lions, for instance, lions rely more on speed and power, and they can't keep up the chase for such a long time. So as they try to chase them and they run away the zebra, they stay usually in very close proximity to each other, and you can only imagine that those stripes kind of merge into one greater pattern, which makes it difficult for the lions to single out one specific target. So this is another reason that people believe that helps those animals in terms of why they have that specific pattern. But I think in general they're just unique. I mean, what other animal has black and white stripes? Out of the top of my head, it's difficult for me to think of one, you know, that in such a green and lush area you see this black and white animal. It's to me, it's just so fascinating, and it's also such a big one, you know. But guys, I'm very happy to have had the opportunity to host you this afternoon during my first virtual safari as the host, and it's been an absolute adventure to take you on. Very stoked about all the sightings we had, the giraffes and the impalas and the warthogs in the beginning, and then we proceeded, and then we saw that beautiful pearl-spotted owlet at the end with that giraffe. That was so cool. So I'm very happy to have had that experience with you and have had the opportunity to share all that knowledge that I've obtained and everything that I've experienced so far here in the bush in Africa. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to see you again on the next virtual safari. Cheers guys, have a lovely afternoon and weekend.